This is how Mourinho's Roma beat Allegri's Juventus. First, we are gonna analyze Roma's offensive structure. In the build-up, they used their 3 center-backs in Zone A, however they had numerical inferiority in Zone B because Juventus waited in this zone with 5 players. Meanwhile, Roma only had the wing-backs and in the central channels Matic and Cristante. Juventus tried to cover the passing lines to the central channels, with Di Maria and Vlahovic in the first line of pressure, and they were supported by the midfielders. Therefore, Roma tried to progress with the wing-backs. However, as soon as they received the ball, Juventus midfielders went to press him. Also, Pellegrini tried to drop back to create a passing line, but Juventus center-backs were over him. As a consequence, Mourinho's players had to find another way to progress. Therefore, Smalling and Ibanez stayed in Zone A and Mancini moved to the midfield. He had space because Zalewski dragged to Juventus wingback. When the center-backs were able to play with him, he had time and space to move forward because Rabiot was far from him. Also, the strikers like Dybala had space between the midfielders and the defenders because Juventus didn't drop back compact. Another way that Roma used to progress to Juventus half was when Pellegrini dropped back. Juventus was pressing with 6 players on Roma's half, however Dybala and Wijnaldum moved to the left side to attract the center-backs and free Pellegrini. As they progressed quickly to the opponent's half, Juventus was divided in 2 blocks, one with the defensive line and Rabiot, and the rest of midfielders tried to drop back quickly. However, this gave time to Roma. Also, Dybala and Wijnaldum were smart to move without the ball to create a space for his teammates. Dybala dragged to Cuadrado and Wijnaldum to the center-backs. Therefore, when the cross is played, Juventus wing-back is in numerical inferiority against Pellegrini and Zalewski. All these movements were seen on Mancini's goal. Roma is moving the ball from the left to the right with Cristante. Mancini had the space to move to Juventus half. Thanks to that, they overcame the pressure of Di Maria and Vlahovic. Also, Roma's strikers are trying to occupy the space between the lines in the central channels. Therefore, Juventus midfielders aren't aggressive to go over Cristante because they are trying to cover the passing lines to the strikers. But also they left free this wing for Spinazzola. Until Juventus midfielders arrived to him, Cristante moved some meters and he is near the final third. Juventus midfielders are near their box and the strikers aren't close to him. Therefore, Cristante received with time and space. Mancini was smart to attack the space that Rabiot and Kostic left because Zalewski is open and Kostic has to stay in the central channels to cover a possible pass to him. Rabiot arrived late and this gave a space for Mancini to score. Next, we are gonna analyze Juventus' offensive structure. They also played with 3 center-backs. However, Roma covered really well the central channels with Matic, Cristante, Wijnaldum, Pellegrini and Dybala. Also, Spinazzola and Zalewski were close to the opponent's wing-backs. When Juventus tried to progress through the flanks, Roma created numerical superiority on the sides and this complicated Juventus. When Roma tried to press, they left the space between the lines where Juventus midfielders took advantage of it. Juventus tried to progress fast to Roma's half through the wings. When Roma's wingbacks went to press the possessor, he tried to connect with the strikers, but Roma centre-backs like Mancini were smart to anticipate the pass and recovered the ball. Therefore, Juventus depended too much on Di Maria because he had to drop back to receive the ball. He had to take the ball close to Roma's midfielders to create a space for Cuadrado. Thus, Cuadrado received with space to play across. Even though Juventus had 4 possible receptors, the crosses were poor or Roma center-backs deflected the ball. Leave your thoughts about Mourinho's and Allegri's tactics. Don't forget to subscribe and thanks for watching.